Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast, continuing to pick apart Raw, SmackDown, and most recently Survivor Series and the Last Time Is Now tournament. So we'll just kind of get into it. So Raw kicks off obviously with John Cena, which is obviously no surprise, being his last Raw of the you know farewell tour, I guess, which obviously turns into a matchup um, between Judgment Day and John Cena, along with Rey Mysterio and Sheamus, um, which was a fun match. Obviously, we knew John Cena was going to win this, so it wasn't like it was anything, I guess. Yeah, so it was good to see Rey Mysterio, Sheamus, and John Cena defeat um, JD, Finn, and Dominic. So that was fun. So we had last week. We basically had Nikki Bella, or the week prior had Nikki Bella turn on Stephanie Vaquer. And so we basically were supposed to get a response by Stephanie Vaquer, and obviously that didn't happen. Because she got basically blasted from the back, and that sounded weird coming out. But and gets hit by Nikki Bella, which obviously is going to lead us to a match. I don't believe it. Okay, I think it is actually on the Survivor Series card, so this ought to be interesting to see that go on, just because you have now talent and you have veteran um, wrestler. So I think that's going to be an interesting matchup how they play that out.
Hmm.
So we had another matchup in the Last Time Is Now tournament, which was Solo versus a mystery opponent. And turns out, and it was actually the best kept secret, which is a rare thing in WWE, to like people were guessing wrong, and even like Adam Pierce was like, everybody's guessing wrong, no one's guessed the right person, and turns out to be a returning, or at least for this tournament, I guess, a returning Dolph Ziggler. Um, Now I don't like that they've brought back these surprise entrants into this tournament, and they basically have had them lose. Um, because Dolph gets takes the L against Solo Sokoa. And the same thing happened with Zack Ryder getting the L against LA Knight. So like I don't see the purpose of having these surprise returns and everything to basically bury them.
Right.
And I hope there's like some reason for it. I don't know, because I feel like I'm okay with blending some past competitors of John Cena's and some of the people that he hasn't faced. Like I'm for that mesh, but I don't like that they have Zack Ryder and Dolph Ziggler taking L's. I don't see the point of bringing back a surprise to basically bury them.
Mm,
Um,
I don't think it's burying them, but it's definitely, it left me with a sour taste. Like you brought back this, working legend in both Dolph Ziggler, aka Nick Nemeth, and Zack Ryder, aka Matt Cardona, and that's how you chose to do him. Now, since his return to any form of WWE programming, hasn't he lost? Matt Cardona lost twice.
yeah,
Yeah, so,
because he lost.
like
He lost when he came back in NXT.
yeah, so what's the point? I mean, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean it's because it's like it's crazy how you look at these superstars outside of WWE and you see the success they had, and the believability they had, to now come back to WWE to basically get made a fool of. I
Right.
mean, you could say that about Rusev. I
Mhm.
mean, Rusev lost less than 10 times in AEW, and he's already lost equal, pretty equal to what he lost in AEW for years. And he
Right.
comes to WWE and goes right back to the same Rusev that WWE had before. And so, like, I don't know if just the money was worth it to come back.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
but
yeah.
um, so so we get Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky coming out and basically talking about the whole War Games nonsense. And um, it ends up obviously the other four coming out from the other side, that being Lash Legend, Nia Jax, and the Kabuki Warriors. And obviously, we pretty much could have predicted this. Obviously, that Charlotte Flair emerges to kind of combat, the numbers game. So obviously now she's going to be in the War Games match, which I think was pretty much a shoo-in.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it sounded like, in the initial, like, rumor roundup that it was, like a way to build a breakup between Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Turns out to be that is not true, and it was just a small work
Right.
to deceive us to thinking that there was. Um, so we have that 4 and the 4 now. Obviously, we'll find out in a little, when we go over SmackDown to, finalize everything. But so Maxine Dupree finally gets her shot against Becky Lynch for the women's intercontinental title, and it was honestly a pretty cut and dry match. I do chalk it up to Maxine Dupree putting in the work. But we obviously get a return, I guess, after returning, but in AJ Lee, and she didn't even do anything. So like that's what's really funny about her return. It was just her coming out and not getting involved in the match, just distracting Becky long enough to let
Right.
Maxine Dupree get the dub. And
Yep.
and all shout outs to Maxine Dupree for winning a singles gold before Chad Gable. Like,
Mhm.
let that sink in. Like, you
Yeah.
think of how good Chad Gable has been for a very, very long time in WWE, probably close to 10 years, and
Mhm.
never had any singles. And now here comes Maxine Dupree,
Mm.
like, and she wins her first singles. And
Yeah.
it's a testament to, if you work hard and you put in the work, you know Triple H does, you know give out, opportunities, and now a champion. Now I don't think Maxine Dupree is going to hold that title for any real
Yeah.
long time, but like I feel like this is what I've alluded to for a while, is that, like, back in the day, it was, they held titles for a handful of months or something and then lost them. And we had that happen frequently. So there was more people with opportunities to hold the title, even if it was for a couple months, because there's just something, fun to be the champion.
Mhm.
And so like I said, I don't think Maxine's holding it for too long, but I feel like Maxine Dupree winning the championship helps us allow the Becky Lynch and AJ Lee thing to go on without a title. Um, so I think that's kind of the pivot that happened.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah.
so we have another matchup in the Last Time Is Now tournament, and I think it went better than most people thought it was going to go, between Gunther and Javon Evans from NXT. But you gotta give credit where credit's due, is that Javon put up a fight. And yes, obviously we knew Gunther was gonna win. That was we already knew that. It
Yeah.
was it's But the fact that Javon Evans goes out there in Madison Square Garden of all things, so
Yeah.
like they're doing something with Javon Evans, the young OG, if he's getting a match in this tournament, obviously against Gunther, but like it wasn't about who he was facing, it was where he was facing him. And so I think this is, a very possible, I wouldn't say probable right now, but
Hmm.
this was Triple H giving Javon Evans an opportunity to show what he could do underneath, you know, I would say this was a PLE level match because Madison Square Garden is where big things happen. So obviously Javon took the L, but I mean he put up a fight along the way, and I feel like I think it's good for his career. I think sometimes it's more about the story than taking wins and losses. So I look forward to what seems like they would do with Javon Evans because they had a whole slew of wrestlers in NXT they could have chose.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
um, I mean, the fact that because like I said, this tournament wasn't like it wasn't random. This wasn't bingo balls, you know, and so like don't don't play it like it was, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So so um we get Cody Rhodes, CM Punk and the Usos, and we get, the Vision facing off with Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. And out of nowhere, I mean, I would say not really out of nowhere, but like we get the return of Brock Lesnar as there was a brawl that broke out, and we get a Brock Lesnar come out, and this is what I alluded to is that this Survivor Series, the second PLE that's on ESPN, they had to go as big as possible to thwart off the poor ratings
Yeah.
of the show that was WrestlePalooza. So they're pulling out all the stops in War Games this year. Obviously, Brock Lesnar comes out, and obviously, like all of a sudden the credits start playing, and then you hear Roman Reigns music. Um, and people are skeptical about why he was wearing an arm thing on
Mm,
on his right arm. Like I don't think there's a lot to it. I don't think it's
no.
that
Yeah.
serious.
And even if it
But
is, so what? I
yeah,
mean,
and so
he's,
that's kind of how that
yeah.
show. Yeah. So I mean, but obviously he gets a hell of a good Superman punch on Brock Lesnar, and that's pretty much how the show ended. So obviously that pretty much finalizes the War Games match. In regards to Jimmy and Jay, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns versus The Vision, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar. And like I said, this is probably the biggest War Games match they could put together. Now the War Games match has been kind of predictable as far as who's been in it. I mean, Jay's been in all the last 5 War Games. I think Jimmy's been in 3 out of the last 5. Roman's been in probably the 3 out of the last 5. CM Punk's been in 2 of the last 5. So like, but at least they're stacking it up different on at least the other end. As far as the Vision
Hmm.
and Drew McIntyre and all that. Like, so at least one side is at least a little bit different than the predictable one side, but you know, it's gonna be a banger of a match though. Like I don't think it'll disappoint one bit. I think, like I said, they have to go big because WrestlePalooza was a flop. So um
Yeah, they're gonna have to really
so
turn it up. So yeah.
so we get to SmackDown, and man, I'd say SmackDown really didn't disappoint. But honestly, we had some of the one side um of the War Games men's match come out. Obviously, we end up having Drew basically beat the living tar out of Cody Rhodes, which I feel like it was just really good Halloween decorations. But
Yeah,
like
Cody likes doing that stick where he gets like a one-sided butt whooping and it just looks brutal and he comes back to be like a savior or something like that. You know, I don't know if that's his personal, his personal kink or that is just the way they want to book him to like return as like the super ultra baby face or whatever have you. Uh I don't need to see that. If you get beat down the way that Drew McIntyre beat down Cody, I don't think you are supposed to come back that night. I think you're supposed to take the rest of the night off and they write you off.
mm,
But
I mean, it's
WWE.
this it's the same thing with finishers, right?
Yeah, it is.
um so we get another United States Championship Open Challenge. Ilya Dragunov faces off against JD McDonough.
Good match.
Um Good match. I mean it was, again, it was just a good straight up match. Um and I like those matches where it's just a clean fight. It's not too much nonsense. Um Obviously Ilya Dragunov takes the W on that, and like it doesn't do anything negative to JD McDonough. Like
No.
this like these matchups aren't really like, it's not too big of a deal to take an L. Um and I think they're going to be like, the next person that wins it is probably going to end the open challenge is my guess. Now I don't know how long that will be. I
Mhm.
mean, I think Sammy had it for like maybe a couple months, maybe, and JD's had, or Ilya Dragunov's had it for a couple months. So I feel like,
Yeah, he's pushing about a month. Um, Ilya
yeah,
is.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe it's a couple of months. Maybe this is the workhorse Charto is the one that, every 3 or 4 months it switches persons, on the show as
yeah,
opposed to, at a PLE or pay-per-view. So whatever it takes to get people interested and watching, I think should not be taken off the table. I think anything that you can do to make that happen, you should give it a try.
yeah, yeah, and at least it makes it fun, right? Like
Right.
I like the open challenge stuff. I like, at least seeing one belt defended. They haven't really done too much with, the reverse side of that, but
Mhm.
I as long as I get one, I'm good. And it makes Raw more or like, SmackDown more exciting, to at least see some belt.
Mhm.
Um, but so we get another matchup in the last time is not tournament between Carmelo Hayes and Bronson Reed, and I thought this could have not played out any better. Just because I didn't want us like, I know we talked last week and we are kind of like, oh, this should be pretty cut and dry that Bronson Reed wins. And you looked at the matchup and you're kind of, you're thinking the exact same thing. Like, um, but because of the man, because of the involvement in the War Games match that Bronson Reed is in, it was only fitting for someone from the other team to basically interrupt, I guess.
Right.
And so Cody ends up coming out and giving Bronson Reed a crossroads out in the outside of the ring, while the other team tried to interrupt the match, but they got one up on him. And so Carmelo Hayes wins via count out. And I like this because I like Carmelo Hayes, and I've
Right.
I've spoken very highly of his, his rise in WWE. It's been kind of, it started off with a bang. It kind of had some middle ground, but like I think this last time is now tournament kind of is revamping him.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
obviously getting the win against Bronson Reed, no matter how it happened,
It
that
happens.
elevates
Yep.
Carmelo Hayes because that's pushing him further along in the tournament. And
Yeah.
I think this tournament does mean something to some wrestlers. Um, so I look forward to, how things pan out. But so we got a matchup between DIY and Fraxium, and this was just another one of those, like, something happens in back and leads us to a matchup, which is fine because it doesn't have to have too much ground to it. But so we get DIY versus Fraxium, and basically the skinny of it is Candice LeRae goes on the apron and takes off Axiom's mask, and so he basically goes to the ground, and basically that's how he gets pinned. But like the crazy thing is that Axiom started off his career without a mask. And so like it's not far fetched, to see him unmasked just because we all know what he looks like without it. It's not like it's not something, too mystique.
Right.
Because
But, you know,
there's a
when
handful,
yeah. When you're wearing a mask for so long, people tend to forget about that, and then obviously they do their internet sleuthing, and then they find old pictures and stuff like that. But, yeah, I still think playing it up, with Axiom and taking his mask and causing them to lose and that sort of thing, I think that gives DIY and Fraxium, you know, an opportunity for a story. So let's go. Let's see what they can
yeah,
do.
yeah. Yeah, and this is one of those things where, like I said, it doesn't need much traction to build a story just because, the men's tag team division is fairly deep. So like, I think that this is an okay story to go off for a couple weeks. So but so we get another matchup in the last time is now tournament. We get Penta versus Finn Balor, and you know, Finn Balor is okay to take an L. So Penta obviously wins this match, which I think is good because this is another opponent that John Cena hasn't seen,
Yeah.
right? I like that they're starting to get a lot of these wrestlers in there that have not, you know, been seen, John Cena hasn't faced.
Right.
Um, so like I said about the women's war game, obviously with AJ interjecting in Becky Lynch's match, it was only the most obvious thing on planet Earth that Becky would join the heel side of the women's war games, and AJ obviously joined the other, the face side of the war games. So not really, I mean, pretty predictable. Um like I said, like Becky not having the title doesn't diminish anything for Becky Lynch. It doesn't drag her down. This is just kind of
It's
how the
just what it
story
is.
goes. Yeah.
Yep.
And so we had something released like later in the week in regards to Sheamus being injured, and so now we don't know who's replacing him. Now I think that my thought process is that the injury is just a work, and I think they realized that their two returns that they really didn't do much with, I feel like we're going to get a third. Now, I
Oh,
don't know who that could be. I don't think it's anybody current roster that's just gonna get the thing. I feel like they have to do another surprise, and this is just a work. Because Sheamus was perfectly fine on Monday Night Raw with with John Cena and Rey Mysterio versus the Judgment Day. Like, seemed fine, didn't see anything, and knowing full well that they did a double taping to give people the holidays off. This is why I don't put any stock in it. Um, So I think it's just another way to slide a new or returning superstar that we're going to get. Because as of now, we have on the one side we have Jey Uso versus Rusev, and we have LA Knight versus this mystery person, and then we have Penta versus Solo Sikoa, and Carmelo Hayes versus Gunther. And this could really go anyway. Like
Yeah.
I think that this is a very opportunistic tournament that we're in because like the Gunther like the Uso and Rusev thing, I hope Rusev wins. Just gonna say that. Hashtag we don't want Jay. But like Solo and Penta, like that could really go anyway. I think that both of them are, deserving in their outright either one. Um, I think Solo's done very good work. I think his bravado and his like leader of the MFTs and stuff. I think he's done a fantastic job. You know, uh, to the dislike of probably most people, but I mean, like this is another one of those situations where you don't have to like him, but you got to respect the work.
Yeah.
And then and then Gunther and Carmelo Hayes. I mean, this is my dark horse because like I wouldn't be mad if Gunther wins the next thing and goes and faces off against, let's say Solo Sikoa or something, which they never fought.
Right.
Um, so I mean, this tournament can go any which way, and I'm gonna be okay with it. But just the mystery person is kind of the true dark horse because we don't know. They haven't had any inklings of anything in the rumor roundup. And so this is just going to be a ginormous secret.
Yeah.
So we have I think this is the official four um of the Survivor Series match card, which is the men's war game, the women's war game, John Cena versus Dominic for the Intercontinental, and Stephanie Vaquer versus Nikki Bella for the women's world title.
So we do
And
have the traditional Survivor Series match. Sami Zayn's team. I can't remember whose team he's against. Running
it's
against.
it's 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 a man. I have to look
Oh
it up. But
goodness. Let me
yeah. So
take a quick
that's
search.
yeah. So Sami Zayn and like versus the other one, basically that's going to be on Friday Night SmackDown. Is the I guess traditional Survivor Series match. Um, yeah. So that ought to be interesting, honestly. Like I think it should be good. Yeah, I have to double
Oh
check on.
yeah, it's the MFTs.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, so I think this is a good way to at least interject. Basically, I mean, I would go as to say it's basically like a third War Games match, even though it's still just a 5-on-5.
Yeah.
But it's also an elimination. So I think that'll definitely be exciting on Friday.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so as far as like, the Cody Rhodes team versus like the Vision team, I guess you could say at War Games, I mean, I don't care how it goes. I just want to see an absolutely brutal match. Now I'm leaning towards the Vision side of it winning.
Hmm.
Um, just because it's got Brock Lesnar.
You
like
know.
like I don't care how you slice it, but like Brock don't lose.
You know what? He has lost. I mean, even
Yeah.
in that Cody promo, that he cut, which was really good for Cody.
Yeah, he's beat him twice. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Roman has beat him. So I do I do think we do see um Cody's team winning or Roman's teams winning. Um I think it just has to do with how they want people to go home that night. And if they want people to go home like, really amped up and excited, then Cody's team will win. And if they think that they could tell better stories going into the end of the year with the Vision winning, which they probably could, then the Vision wins. And
Yeah.
it also has to do, like you said, I think with a Brock Lesnar, what is he thinking? You know,
Yeah. I mean,
what
and
what makes sense?
when you have Brock in a cage with weapons, I mean, like, like that's my thing is that like I fear Brock Lesnar straight up, let
Mm,
alone with tables, ladders, chairs, and kendo sticks and trash cans and whatever. Um, but I think I'll be satisfied with however it falls out. I kind of want the bad guys to win this time. Like I don't I mean I feel like it's going to push the agenda of the Vision in Logan Paul. Drew doesn't care. Brock really doesn't care. But I think this pushes that narrative of like who's going to pin Cody, who's going to pin CM Punk.
right.
Because I think that somebody is going to pin CM Punk or Cody Rhodes if they do lose. I don't think they're going to win by pinning Jimmy or Jay or Roman. So I would say if the bad guys win, Cody or CM Punk gets pinned. Um and it doesn't really matter for the other side. If the good guys win, I don't think it matters who they pin. Um Now I think the truest pin would be like someone like you know, Cody Rhodes to pin Brock for like a third time or something, or CM Punk to pin. Like, I feel like if the good guys win, I feel like Brock is the one that's going to get pinned if they really want to have a compelling victory. Um, Now, on the women's side, man, I don't like I don't know like I'm crossed in this too because like I love the good side of it, but I also like Nia Jackson, Lash Legends being on the come up. And I think like those two, along with, Becky Lynch and the Kabuki Warriors, like in the fact that fun fact, but like Io Sky has been in every War Games match, period. Um so so I think people are gonna have to really be aware of Io Sky's meanderings of the knowledge of war games because I think she's been in every war games, NXT and WWE. So
Right.
like I think they're gonna have to keep their eyes open because
Yes.
this ain't her first rodeo.
Nope. And she's probably the most seasoned of everyone in there. She might not be the most brutal of everyone, but she is the most experienced. And
Yeah,
I
but
think that,
she's yeah.
yeah, she can
so
be,
so
but
I think you cannot sleep on Io Sky more than anybody else.
yeah, I agree.
Now so I don't know, feel like this is a hot take or this is like whatever, but like John Cena versus Dominic for the Intercontinental. I honestly see Dominic winning. And
Mm,
not because I want it to happen, but I think because it's it's just makes sense. Um because I think with John having his last match, if Sheamus is out, the Intercontinental doesn't matter anymore. So whoever he faces in his last match, like let's say he loses his last match,
Mhm.
which I mean, win, lose, or draw, it doesn't diminish John Cena's legacy.
No.
Like, don't get it twisted, people, because it
Right.
doesn't matter if John wins or loses in his last match because he's won a crap ton of other matches. It's like this is just kind of the last hurrah, and so like his last match should have no bearing on the Intercontinental Championship. And I think because we've seen Dominic on the absolute rise, I think him holding the Intercontinental just gives it that extra like edge of like we don't like this guy, but he's but he can if he could put on his mantle that I beat John Cena, like that
Yeah, I
elevates
mean,
Dominic Mysterio. Like
yep.
that puts him like levels above where he is now if he defeats John Cena to win back as Intercontinental. And by the looks of it, it really Dominic's the only winner in Judgment Day right now. So like, I mean, this is again, this is a slow burn. It has been a very slow burn, for the dismantling of Judgment Day. But I feel like if Dominic wins this and he doesn't do it with anybody's help or anything else, and he just does it on his own and wins it straight up, like he's gonna be like, I don't need Judgment Day. You guys haven't been around. You guys haven't done anything for me. Like I'm over it. I'm done. I don't need you guys. You guys need me, but I don't need you.
Yeah.
And I think I feel like that would make sense, from the dismantling of the Judgment Day, is if Dominic's just like, yeah, I'm out, deuces, guys. I don't need you guys. You guys didn't do anything for me. So
You know, I think you're right. Yeah, there's, it does validate him as a future, top guy, you
yeah,
know, but also too, I I think I would not mind seeing John Cena retire as Intercontinental Champion.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I'm not
it's
against
what
it.
people wouldn't expect from WWE,
Yeah,
and it would definitely be a break in tradition that WWE does. Your last match, 99.9% of the time, when you're retiring, you lose that last match. But if we can see anything from other promotions, other industries, that it's okay to go out as a champion. It's matter of fact, it's pretty damn dope to see,
yeah, yeah. And like I said, it could go either way. But I just think for the uplifting of Dominic, I feel like he should win this. But again, however it plays out, I'm okay with.
Right.
Um, now the last match we have is Stephanie Vaquer versus Nikki Bella for the women's world title, and
Mhm.
I just I would prefer Stephanie continue her title reign, but I wouldn't be against Nikki Bella winning. Um, but I don't think Nikki Bella is going to be a consistent presence in WWE to justify putting the title on her shoulder.
But that's just the thing. We don't necessarily need to see the world champion or see a world champion every week. Yes, it's a great to have, but what we got with previous world champions is that they showed up when they were booked, and we're accustomed to that. Especially if it matches the story of the character, that they're very entitled, that they want to do things by their rules, they don't care about the fans or traditions of defending championships. We could see a heel champion not be there every week.
Yeah.
And if it's for Nikki Bella, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But and also we don't know what the physical condition or physical health of Stephanie Valcour is, if she has a legitimate injury that she's been trying to work through, putting the championship on Nikki Bella would free up some time for her to heal up. So it makes sense doing
Yeah.
it like that instead of dragging it out. But also, yeah, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Stephanie
Yeah.
Vancouver is fine, and it's just how they're booking her. And yeah, surprise,
Yeah.
surprise, we get someone else. Maybe it's
Yeah.
Julia. So
Yeah.
it
I
is
mean,
what it is.
it's yeah. I mean, and I think like like Nikki winning's not going to make or break Survivor Series. Um, and same thing with Dominic and John Cena. Like, it's not going to make or break the PLE, but like, we'll just be here for whatever comes. Like, because honestly, we don't know the coming and going in the behind the scenes. We don't know true injuries. We don't know kayfabe injuries. Like,
Right.
so like, like you said, there could be something to it.
Hmm.
But I we'll just wait and see.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll see what becomes of you know if there's something true going on or not. I hope tomorrow and Friday we get some kind of figuring out of who the surprise entrant is.
Hmm.
But my only thing is that like I don't want to lurk online too much for Friday Night SmackDown, given that they did a double taping um this past Friday. So I don't want to know who the next person is in the tournament. And maybe they didn't reveal it. You know, maybe they're waiting till, you know, the actual match starts happening before they truly reveal who the surprise return is. So we will just wait and see,
Yep. That's all we can do.
and that's all we can do. So I hopefully you guys all have a great Thanksgiving and all that.
Yes.
And this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.